And hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode, if not now, when? Today, oh my goodness, I have such an honor to have Preston James on the show with us. Preston, he is a co-founder and CEO of DivInc, the first early-stage tech startup accelerator in Texas, focused exclusively for people of color and women tech founders. And today, since its launch 2016, wow, it has helped launch 63 companies across Texas, also helped 300 plus female leaders in the Texas. With that, everybody, I am so excited. Thank you so much, Preston, for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure. Long time coming. So I'm really super excited to be here. So thank you.
Of course. So Preston, tell us, bring us back to the journey. How does all the magic get started? How do you grow up?
Well, I am, even though I'm based in Austin, Texas right now, and I've been in Austin since 1997. So you can do the math on that, right? But I am a native New Yorker. I was born in the Bronx, New York, and spent half of my youth years in the Bronx, New York, and then also grew up in sort of like the suburban Rockland County area outside of New York City. And then I went to college at Howard University in Washington, D.C., which is a predominantly, it's a historically Black college university. And then, some years after I graduated from Howard as a mechanical engineering major, I ended up getting a job at Dell Technologies. It's called Dell Technologies now. And I started at Dell in 1993. Out of Washington, D.C., and then was in the D.C. area for a year, moved to Atlanta, Georgia with Dell for another 3.5 years, and then also came down to Austin in 1997, which I thought would be a short-term stay of maybe a couple of years, and ended up, being here, some 20 some odd years later. But a really interesting, question you asked me about my upbringing. I grew up, for those who've spent time in New York is quite diverse. Of course, it has its pockets of, where you have very homogeneous communities. But on the street that I lived on, East 232nd Street, we had probably everything on my block, right? I mean, we had Jewish folks, we had Catholic folks, we had Muslims in terms of religions, Baptists, and then, white, Black, Puerto Rican, Dominican, you name it, it was on that block. And it was interesting because, we played together, we ate together, we fought each other. But at the end of the day, we were all neighbors getting along. So I knew very early on not what diversity was, but I knew early on, to just embrace and welcome people as they are, right? So that came sort of naturally, but very early. And then when I moved out into the suburban area, it was a predominantly white community that I lived in. But the high school, the schools that I had gone to, because they were pulling from various small towns right around the school area, was very diverse. So, it was probably 60% white, maybe 65% white, and then everything else, right? So it's a big mix of everything, but we all kind of got along, really, really well. And even to this day, if we had a high school reunion, you can see people just come back together. And so I think that was really the key part of my upbringing in terms of who I am and what I'm about. And I know that diversity and inclusion can be, because I've already lived it. You know what I mean? So it is possible, it's doable, it's valuable. and it's beautiful, right? And so that's really a little bit about me.
I love that. So, Preston, what does diversity inclusion means for you? Is it like you said about you grew up in a street where it's like a brother and sister, we all just like together and we all share meals, share ideas? Like, how do you describe that in your words?
It's really embracing all people, embracing all cultures, and embracing all types of thought, and respecting it and appreciating it for what it is, right? And everyone has different backgrounds and history and everything. I think it's just wonderful and something great to be able to appreciate and understand those different elements that make up the individual that you're dealing with, right? Or that you're engaged with or you're friends with. I mean, I think that's special, right? That's what makes everybody unique. That's what makes life, just amazing, is to get all those experiences and get that engagement and really understand, what makes people tick or what makes that individual tick, right? And if you're a part of an environment that embraces that and welcomes that and is okay with that, that's what it's all about.
I love that.
Value it, yeah.
I really enjoy that, Preston. And the way how I see it, today we both in Austin, Texas, which is a city I love so much. I love our motto says, keep Austin weird. And the way how I see it is, I am weird, you are weird, she is weird, he is weird in our own way, because we are all so different, whether it's pop culture, the background, food I love to eat, my morning routine could be all the things. But exactly like you said, when we all keep the uniqueness of who we are, that made the world so interesting and so beautiful. So I love that.
It is. And it's interesting because our differences, I recognize the fact that our differences do make people nervous. Right, because it's sort of like that unknown factor, like you're not familiar to me, right, and you're different from me, and so it makes people nervous or uncomfortable. And I get that. I mean, I understand that, right? But I think if we all assume, assume good first, right, as opposed to bad, negative, right? Like, it's not an alien from Mars we're dealing with here. It's just it's just another human being. But ultimately, I use the alien, and it is funny, right? But let's just say there are aliens out there. The reality is, we fear that, right? Because all of our lives we hear about aliens, and we think that, right? They're coming to destroy, take over, and a different perspective might be, let's check it out. That's what are they all about? Maybe they have better music or whatever. I mean, we don't know. I'm just using that as a really example, but it's that nervousness, that fear of the unknown that keeps, and bringing in the biases and racial aspects into it. It's not necessary, but a lot of it is based on ignorance and fear and the unknown factors.
Well said, Preston. And I think you are 100% right there. Sometimes when we met something that unknown or foreign, subconsciously we say, oh my God, what's happening? Like if I first time try Italian food, which when I did, they gave me like olive oil with bread. I was like, what is happening right now? This is so confusing. So, oh my God, I totally get it. But I really love the point that you said about, say we first try a new restaurant, we first met alien, we first met another, culture or cuisines or people, all that. Instead of like tense up, if we can just relax and just get curious and just find out, who they are, what music do they listen to, what kind of bread do they like to eat? Like, isn't that so much fun? And the way how I see it is, isn't that why we love to travel, whether it's domestically, travel to different part of Texas or venture to New York, venture to Florida? we like to see new different things. I think that's who we are as a human beings.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just feel like it's interesting, here in this country, in other countries too, people travel from one country to another. But when you listen to people, they go and they want to experience the food and the music and the people and the culture. I'm like, well, how's that different than doing that here in the United States? I was like, I mean, you have Chinese, Asian, Indian. You go to their country and you're open and you want to see. Well, it's the same thing here, right? And as humans, I think all of us, for the most part, want the same things, and we're all made up really kind of the same way, right? I mean, we all sleep, we all eat, we all go to the bathroom, we all. I mean, we're pretty much the same. We're just slightly different, right? And we should be able to embrace that and not be fearful of it.
I really love that, Preston. I have a theory. I think we all exactly same, have exact evidence shows that. Okay, I'm Chinese, I'm Asian, and I love my dumplings, okay? And I'm pretty sure, in my personal perspective, our people invented dumplings, right? But when I look at the world, there are different types of dumpling idea all around the world, right? I eat dumplings in China, we have, wonderful things, but you look at South America, they have empanadas, it's like the same idea. You look at Europe, you had, maybe it's called yoki, I'm not sure if I pronounce it right? It's the same idea. It's like the same dumpling. So really, I think I invented. They probably think they invented. But at the end of the day, we all enjoy the idea of dumplings. Exactly. And that's what you said earlier about we are exactly on the same journey, because the way how I see it, yes, we might be different culture, different perspective, different job, different gender, different tall, different hair color, but we all our own journey to finding the path for ourselves, making the impact small or big in our own, aspect, and really just enjoy life. So I 100% agree with that.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's awesome. That's how I try to approach life, in general.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And if you ask, okay, where did it come from? I mean, both of my parents, my mom was with a teacher. My father, went to college. Also is also a veteran, and both of them passed away when they, at an early age. And so for me, I think a lot from them early on, not knowing that I got a lot from them early on, right? And my mother being a teacher, obviously being able to teach kids and treat kids and, all kids, right? My father was just a, real open and social guy who had a very tough upbringing. And so despite that, he was, charming, he was engaging, but at the same time, he was very deeply connected to what life is like being a poor Black person in the United States and working hard to get where he can get, to take care of his family. And, being as a Black male, that is the responsibility to make sure the family is taken care of and so on and so forth. So, the 13 years I had with him, the 22 years I had with my mother,
wow,
I was able to pick up, that little bit and carry on the best that I think I knew, right? And I'm still learning, right? But I think that's where a lot of it came.
How does that experience impacting you? Because you said that you have that your father was not with you for right the first 13 years versus your mother 22 years. How does that impacting you and who you are today as a leader?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of different ways, but I think for the most part, I think I learned that what doesn't, essentially what doesn't necessarily break you will actually strengthen you, right? And I also learned, for those who are religious or spiritual, that God is not going to give me more than what I can actually handle. And so I had to believe in that, even though I was very I was very angry as a young boy, from age 13 to 12. I was angry and didn't understand why, my father was taken so early. And over time, surrounding myself with, some peers, some who had gone through something similar, some who didn't, that provided me a good core group of strong friends that helped me through sort of like the tough periods, indirectly or directly, right? And then I think the other piece was having a younger sister didn't allow me to take the shortcut out, right? It didn't allow me to be weak, right? It said to me that I have to be strong for her. I have to set an example for her. So the path forward is up, right? I didn't know how to get there, but but I just had to keep pushing. So I think that's kind of what I took from that, just as basic survival, right? Just you got to go forward, no matter what that is. You just got to keep going, and put your head down and go.
Wow, I can definitely see that experience, that those challenges really shape you as who you are today. Not only you are a leader in such a young age, have to really step up to lead, whether it's your family or your sister or anything around you. That's one. And secondly, I can also see why you have such a compassion today to every person you meet, because you've been through such a challenging time in such a young age.
Yeah, and it allowed me to make a lot of mistakes, right? I made a lot of mistakes along the way, as a young male trying to figure out, but I think at the core, it was always about, treating people right. No matter what, it was about trying to treat people with respect, right? It's always, I wasn't a belligerent, type of person getting in trouble, even though I did get in trouble once, real big trouble. But my mom saved me. She saved me on that one. Just treating people with respect, like you want them to treat you. And I think that's, from my professional career at Dell, no matter my professional career, as well as what we've done with DivInc, that's always been a really core part of the culture that I built as a leader in corporation, and I was also as a leader at DivInc, is that culture of acceptance and empathy and respect, communication, transparency, empowerment, right? Voice, right, to enable people. So it all kind of feeds in there, if you will. Yeah.
I love that, Preston. You speak such integrity. I can tell that you are a man of your words, and you always do things that align with your core value and authenticity, and being kind and always do the right thing. So I love that about you. With that, Preston, I'm curious, at what part of a journey do you ever thought you want to be an entrepreneur or venture into entrepreneur world? How does that idea come about?
Well, it was interesting because my career at Dell, I got started in IT, technology consulting and sales at Dell, right? So it's like a pre-sales guy, and going in, talking to customers. And I think my drive at that time was to help business customers solve problems leveraging technology, right? And at that point, it was Dell Technology Products and Services. And so that was always the driving force. And, did a lot of different roles, and then got into leadership where I was managing those types of resources and, being able to support all sort of customer segments and different industries, had regional, national, and also global roles in that capacity. And I had a senior leadership role, managing some sales teams that were driving like $250 million in the federal segment of the business. Well, my role after that, well, 2 roles after that, I came across this opportunity to become the managing director for the Global Center for Entrepreneurship, which is sort of a funny story in itself. So I had met the entrepreneur, the first ever entrepreneur in residence that Dell had hired. And she was basically hired by, basically this was like a hire that was done at the highest levels, Michael and Steve Felice. So he was senior CEO and then their senior executive that reported to Michael hired this entrepreneur in resident. So she and I were at this conference together, and this mutual friend said, "Hey, the two of you need to meet." And we sort of gave each other the side eye, who are you? Why do I need to meet you? And so we ended up meeting and talking, and it was crazy, but we ended up talking for like 2 hours.
Wow.
We were supposed to be doing stuff at the conference. We were like, oh my God, we have to go do the conference, And from that point, we became really good friends and started working together. But I didn't officially come to her team. She asked me to come over to help her grow this entrepreneur initiative. And so I did. And in that role, basically the initiative was to help tech startup entrepreneurs scale and grow their business, leveraging Dell technology. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that part, no problem. But it was a different space. And long story short, I got bit by the startup bug because there was so much awesome innovation that was happening. It was like, this is crazy, right? And how we could help them leverage, scale, and grow. And then the whole investment piece was coming in, which I didn't totally understand. And just watching some of these companies just, just go through the roof. And I was like, okay, this is where I want to be. This is where I belong in sort of like in this space. Why? Because interestingly, the vast majority of my career, because when I say I was with Dell, everybody thinks of big Dell, right? But I joined Dell when Dell was pretty much a high growth startup. Mm-hmm. Got about 2,000 and 3,000 employees when I came on board, and they were hiring about 100 people a month.
Wow.
So that was Dell when I joined. Now Dell, 100,000 employees. And so all of my previous employers were small businesses or tech startups, which I didn't know. And so it made sense that I would be drawn to this startup space. I didn't really put those pieces together until after I left Dell. It's like, oh my God, my whole career was been with small businesses and startups. Mm-hmm. So this totally makes sense. This is where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And even though I was never an entrepreneur myself, right? And it's like, well, I want to be in this space. I'm going to figure something out. And so I left Dell in 2014 to venture into this tech startup community. Had no idea what I was going to do. Didn't have anything lined up, but because they had an early leave package, I took that to say, this will be my time to explore. And so I did that. And, the next part of that was why, how did you get into DivInc, right? It's like, where did that come from? And it really kind of hit me really hard after I left Dell, was that there was a lack of diversity in the tech startup community. I wasn't seeing founders of color, not many women, certainly not a whole lot of investors of color. It was just like very weird to me that not weird, but like, okay, here we go again, right? Because we had that similar experience in corporate America, right? In terms of executive leadership and things like that. Why aren't there more people of color? So it was like, okay, this has the same feel, but I felt like, okay, this may be, this, I could probably do something about this. Maybe, I can try. And so I did research to try to understand why this was the case and, whether or not it even mattered, right? Is this something, does it even matter? Or should we just let things go as they are?
So what did you find out?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, so what? I mean, all these people doing startups, Black people, brown people, are not participating. Is that a big deal? And at the end of the day, the research is basically like, hey, this is how we create jobs. This is how, in some ways, we create wealth. This is how we create revenue, right? This is how we create innovation. And people of color and women weren't participating in that in the grand. And then on top of that, the investments weren't being made. So the billions of dollars that were being invested in the companies, they weren't being made to people of color and women. So like, whoop, 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 alarms were going off, and I was like, we've got to fix this. This is not right.
What inspired you from that moment on recognize there's a gap in the industry and decide you want to be the change you want to see in the world?
Yeah, well, that was a sort of a little bit of an interesting, somewhat painful process. And I say painful because despite the information that I had in front of me, despite the experiences, one thing I didn't share, I also became an angel investor around after I left Dell. And so I was seeing everything firsthand, right? I was doing mentor office hours. I was doing all of that. So my personal experience told me this is a problem. And then the research told me this is a problem. And, in my mind, I thought, okay, I have to do something. But I was sort of fighting it to, I didn't necessarily mean for me to go do something,
Mm-hmm.
I could be part of something. I didn't have to be it. You know what I mean? So I was sort of fighting that aspect. But it's that feeling and the message from above was like, sort of tapping me on the shoulder and kept tapping me, whether I was awake, whether I was asleep, whatever I was doing, it was always tapping me and just saying, this is something you have to do. And so I had to listen to that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try, I'm gonna start. And what a lot of people don't know, Wen, is that my first foray to address this issue was to try to start a angel network that would invest in, underrepresented founders. Suffice it to say, we didn't get it off the ground, right? We tried for about 9 months or so, but we couldn't get a real critical mass of investors. And I learned my mistakes from that process. But the wonderful part of that whole process and trying to make that happen is I realized that the funding capital was not the end all be all, right? More that needed to be done to help underrepresented entrepreneurs. And so the concept of DivInc was born out of how do we remove these barriers that exist within the ecosystem to provide better access to better resources and opportunities for underrepresented founders. So DivInc was born out of that, right? Out of that, okay, the Angel Network didn't work, but this is going to probably work better because this is what's actually needed, right? Right? I mean, it wasn't, so I think we came in at a time where we were just really honing in on what is the gap. What's the gap in the ecosystem? What's missing specifically for underrepresented founders where we can turn the tide and make a difference? And so DivInc was born out of that.
Amazing. So with that, now you see what doesn't work and what worked. Now you move forward with the DivInc, the vision. What is the hardest part of now starting a accelerator?
The hardest part, I mean, I think that the hardest part is, for me, I think is I want to be able to wave a magic wand, right? And,
Tell us more.
and just go, boom, DivInc is everywhere, right? Just there it is. And it doesn't happen that way, right? So you have to build it, you have to grow it, you have to scale it. And part of me is really anxious. I wanna help as many entrepreneurs worldwide as we possibly can. And so I want to go. I want to go I want to go faster.
Yes.
But it takes time. And that's the tough part about it is I want this to have a generational impact, right? I want this something to be laid down as a foundation across, the U.S. or across the world that just gets implemented and it just sets the foundation for the future generations.
I love that.
Yeah.
And for our audience who may be not as familiar with DivInc, Preston, can you tell us a little bit more about DivInc, how the founder find you, and then also I'd love to hear about what is the future impact you are envisioning for DivInc?
Yeah, the vision. I mean, right now, when we're focused, our primary focus is at the early stage of the entrepreneurship journey for underrepresented founders. So if you think about it, we want to help those at that ideation stage. So for all those people who have ideas, they just don't know where to go, who to go to, who to talk to. We want to provide a space for them at the ideation stage, and then take them through. If they have validated their idea, to get that minimal viable product. And then help them build a business where they're getting their early customers, right? So they're at the pre-seed, help them even get to the seed stage. So DivInc, if you think about DivInc, is providing that platform for founders to avoid those pitfalls in the early part of the journey and get as many of those founders to that pre-seed seed stage. And build that, right? And so today we're almost just about finished that with the validation lab for ideation stage. We have the accelerator program. We have our portfolio program. And then we're going to introduce two more things. We'll call a venture studio, which would be for those companies that are coming out of the accelerator that are just have a hockey stick, they're ready to go, right? And looking for that seed stage funding, pre-seed money. And then the second thing we're going to introduce is an investment fund for early stage for our portfolio and for those outside of our portfolio. So that's going to be our core product offering, if you will.
Incredible.
We want to take that programming infrastructure and replicate that to as many cities across the US or across the globe.
Wow. Amazing. And today, Preston, you have, personally also, with a team, right, supporting so many founders go through DivInc and, see them take off, and I'm curious, what is, among all the founders, what are maybe, what is the number one biggest pitfall you see founders make in that process?
I think, oftentimes we want to do things our way and by ourselves. And as much as I do appreciate that, and I know that feeling, I say to people, this is not a journey, for by yourself and, only by me. That's not one of those journeys. There's mentors along the way. there's connections to be made, there's access to customers and things of that sort. You really need to be part of a community and a network that can help, that goes beyond just your network of friends. Build it outside. And it's a necessity. I think it's essential to make that happen. So I always encourage the founders to come be part of a network, whether it's DivInc, whether it's some other partner or whatever, to avoid that, because the time it takes, the mistakes that can be made and the time it takes to ramp and all those kinds of things, they can be accelerated, or the pitfalls can be avoided because you're surrounding yourselves with mentors and advisory support and the right culture to help you avoid those. And that's why organizations like DivInc exist.
I love that. There's a quote says, you want to go faster, you go alone. You want to go further, you go together. And therefore, I think definitely speaking for the power of network, power of community, power of support, really, how vital it is, especially for the early stage founders. With that, Preston, I want to ask on the other side, right? What is, one or two things you see really set our founder apart from the more, more successful business versus others?
Yeah, I would say the one single thing I would say is the founders and the co-founder team. That is like the biggest differentiator, because your idea, it may not be a great idea, right? But do those founders have the ability to understand and pivot, right? Do those founders have the ability to develop connections and build team and build advisors and really drive the business and execute? Do they have the persistence, the drive, the grit? It's the team, right? Ultimately, it is the team that makes the difference. I mean, I could take great ideas and a really terrible team. It's not going to go very far. But I can take a really great team with a so-so idea and probably turn that into a great, something great. But people want to work with them. People want to help them. People want to see them be successful because of the team. And we've had a lot of examples of, where the team really, probably one of the most recent ones, where the team actually basically stopped the idea that they came in with our program with. Right, it's a 12-week program, and they stopped probably in week 5, week 6, and pivoted their idea. Most folks wouldn't have been able to do that successfully, but those two co-founders made it happen. And the way they worked together, the way they worked with their mentors and advisors, and really just took it and ran with it and made it happen. And two Black female founders, and they just recently closed $1.2 million in their pre-seed raise, right? So they're like one of 100 Black women to raise more than $1 million, right? And they flipped it, right? And so the team is everything.
Incredible. I love that comment, right? Oftentimes people think it's that idea, is that next Facebook, next Google, but at the end of the day, it's all about people, not the ideas. I love that. With that, Preston, I'm curious, what's next for you? What's next for DivInc? What is the future you want to see for DivInc?
What do I want to see for DivInc?
Yeah. So right now, you have launches for past 2-3 years. Right now has been, really create huge positive mark in Texas and beyond. So with that, what is the future you want to see for DivInc?
Yeah. So I think, for me, the future is, getting DivInc strong, right, in order to continue to expand, because we don't want to expand and not be able to support the expansion. And So we're focusing on that now. And then over the next, 3 to 5 years, I think you're going to see us go expand into other cities.
Wow.
How fast we do that, that just really kind of depends. But the intention is absolutely to expand. The other thing that I think you're going to see is that we're going to go deeper with our founders, meaning that we're going to provide these resources to allow them to more successfully get to that seed stage. And when you get to that seed stage, you're pretty much on a good trajectory for the most part. Not all said and done, but in a good trajectory.
Yeah.
And I want DivInc to be known as the organization, as the company that knows how to build successful companies founded by underrepresented founders. That we get it right, we do it better than most other. Let's just say it this way: the national statistics are what they are. I want people to see that DivInc produces companies that outperform the national averages all over the country.
What do you think is that secret sauce for DivInc?
Team.
Yes.
It's team. And we are no different than any other startup, really, right? Or really maybe any other company. I mean, we're 5 years old. We act like a startup, even though we are a nonprofit. And when I say act like, our mindset, we operate the nonprofit like it is a startup. Okay, meaning that we want sustainability, we want growth, right? We think about the culture, we think about all of that. So the team that we put together, the culture that we have, not just internally, but also externally for our founders and our mentors, advisors, and investors, that is key for us. And I think people buy in to the mission of DivInc because the culture is genuine, it's authentic, right? And it's, and we work really, really hard, right? We work hard for ourselves, and we work hard for our founders and mentors, our board advisors. I mean, this is what we do. This is what we're about. It's all about the team. And I've been blessed to have an awesome team.
Incredible. So with that, Preston, I'm going to circle back to you personally. What is your personal legacy you want to leave on this planet?
You had to get that question in there, didn't you?
I just have to ask.
I mean, when I was doing DivInc, and after leaving Dell, honestly, I left Dell when my career hadn't peaked yet, right? And I was making, significantly more than what I was making. Maybe some people know, some people don't know, but I'm also a father of 4 children, married and father of 4 children. And at that time when I started DivInc, all of them were at home. And for me to make that leap from Dell to start DivInc and to ask the family to sacrifice, based on that, even though my children were probably too young to completely understand, but my wife certainly, a little bit of a change of a lifestyle, right? And also, it was going to be something that was going to take some time with no guarantees at the end, right?
Yeah.
But this work that we're doing, this mission that we're doing, this is, without a doubt, the hardest thing I've ever done professionally, but also the most rewarding and most gratifying. And it fills my heart to be doing this, to be doing this mission. So DivInc represents my legacy. So what I leave behind, for my children, whether DivInc continues 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now, that my children will know me more for this mission. And that's the legacy I want to leave behind them, that we can always make this place a better place for everyone.
I feel the love, I feel the passion, and this is, wow, Preston, so beautiful. Well said.
Thank you.
I want to ask, Preston, you are someone who has such a passion. I love that you're able to just make a leap, right? At the moment that, you see the gap, and you're right, there's no guarantee. And this might be something that will be wonderfully, wildly success, but or not. You don't know that. But the fact that you just move forward because you just really you just cannot do anything about it. There's a fire on your chest. You cannot ignore it. And I love that you have such a integrity, such a passion. Just say, you know what? I'm going to just say yes. I'm going to be the change I want to see in the world and make a world a better place the way how you see it. I love that about you. Preston, I
appreciate that. Thank you.
Truly, I'm really inspired. And thank you. I don't say that lightly. And Preston, I'm curious, one more question I have for you is, today you are someone that, is sort of a public figure, right? You have a lot of, people know about you, whether it's, your success at Dell or DivInc and all the wonderful things you do at advancing diversity. I'm curious, what is one thing that, most people don't know about you, but you wish people know? What is the perception that, most people may say, oh, I didn't think about Preston this way or that way, but I wish, that's who I am.
I think most people would say, oh, Preston is an extrovert. And I'm not extrovert, like way on the other side of extrovert, like people might think, like he's way over there. And I do like my home time. I would prefer just to prop up, take it easy in the whole nine. So that's one part of me. And I love being around friends and family, that sort of close circle. Mm-hmm. But then I also have this kind of weird side. I think I have to thank my wife for this probably. So we've done some somewhat adventurous stuff, right? And most people would say, if you guess, would Preston jump out of a plane to go skydiving? And most people were like, oh, hell no, Preston would not. Well, Preston has been skydiving.
Wow.
Yes, he jumped out of a plane. And he's also used to ride motorcycles. And, he used to get on there and let it rock and roll. And I've also jumped off of a 3-story cliff into some water. Thank my daughter for that. She set me up. So I had to jump in front of a group of people off of like a 3-story.
Without
cliff.
any harness?
Without anything. And my swim skills are not all of that. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, not anything super crazy, but if people were to think about Preston, they wouldn't think about me in that context. But yeah.
I love that, Preston. I think innately, each and every one of us as individual, we are diverse in our own way. Maybe one way I'm an extrovert, but in other setting, I'm more introvert. Maybe it's one way I'm a little bit more concerned, but another way I'm more reserved. Like we all have a different flavor side of us, and that's who you are. And wow, I would not thought.
Yeah, I'm going down. That's what I'm taking with me. I've been there, done that. I don't know what else is coming. We've done some other crazy stuff, but not.
Wow.
Compared to some of my other friends, it's okay.
Incredible. Wow, Preston. Did not see that coming, but wow, good to know. My last question for you today, Preston, is what is one thing that you wish maybe two-part question. What is one thing you wish your younger version of yourself know? And the second part is, what is your advice for any, new entrepreneurs, maybe is about to make that first jump, about to jump off that cliff, or whatever that look like for her or for him? What would you say to them?
Well, for the younger myself, I wish I had been exposed to this world of tech entrepreneurship much earlier in life. Not because of the money or anything like that, but it's the mindset of an innovator, the mindset of a problem solver, the mindset of, you come up with an idea, go and solve it and build something that you can, right? Like, go do that. And I was never really exposed to that as I wasn't exposed to it too much later on. And, I wish I had that. Because I think the mindset is just different, right? And part of it might be culturally, or what you were surrounded with growing up, because my parents weren't exposed to it, right? And so on and so forth. My family was mostly educators. My mom's side was all educators. So innovation, tech, that wasn't entrepreneur, that wasn't them. And then my father was just making his way, right? And so I didn't get exposed to that, and I would love to have gotten that. And then for others, I think it's sort of like the same, right? Because I know there's so many people out there that are just blown away with the whole startup ecosystem. They're like, whoa, right? But then even beyond that, either beyond that or below that, whatever, is the whole concept of entrepreneurship. And not just tech entrepreneurship, but social entrepreneurship, right? Small business. It's the idea that you have something and you can go build a company, right? And you can create jobs and you can generate revenue. You can give back to the community. That's amazing. That's like a life-fulfilling thing to do. And not enough in the underrepresented communities get that, right? They don't get the possibility of that, right? And as a result, the opportunities, they're rural. They're not a lot of people are not able to think really big as a result, because their world is really, really small. They're not exposed to what's possible. So just really exposing young people to more of what's possible, right, without limiting their vision, and let them know what's possible. That has got to happen. And I know it's a scary, scary thing, but we have to do that for our children, for the generations to come, because they have to know that the world is their playground. Right? It's not the neighborhood is the playground. The world is their playground.
I love that, Preston. The world is your oyster as long as go sees it. And I really love about, truly thank you so much, Preston, for being here today, not only sharing your insight, your journey, and your authenticity, your integrity, but most importantly, I love that, you can able to really being the change you want to see in the world, bring that possibility for our younger generation, our next generation of entrepreneurs. So helping her to see what is possible. So then they can really share their gift with the world. So then they can go build their startup and really bring all the amazing solution for the customer, for the world. So with that, Preston, I am just so personally inspired and touched. Thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoy our conversation. And also thank you everybody for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed today's session, and we cannot wait to see you all next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.